Welcome to the Sherdog Radio Network preview for UFC on ESPN 65, also known as UFC Vegas 105. I'm your host, Ben Duffy of Sherdog.com. With me, as usual, is Keith Schillen, the executive producer of the Sherdog Radio Network. Keith, how you doing this evening?
I'm doing good, my man. How you doing?
I'm doing really well. As of when we're talking right now, we're barely 24 hours removed from talking on the recap for UFC Mexico. The assembly line, the carousel, it never stops. The UFC is back at the Apex this Saturday with a 13-fight card topped by undefeated Lerone Murphy and veteran featherweight contender Josh Emmett. Give me your overall take on this card. How would you rate it on paper in advance? What in particular are you looking forward to, if anything?
Yeah. So before I forget, some people reached out to me on the recap show asking about my daughter's book. I tried putting the link to my daughter's novel that you can buy on Amazon. For people who don't know, my daughter wrote a novel. It's called Blood Stained Legacy by L.J. Schillen. Anyways, I tried putting it in the chat, but I think it thought like it was spam because I just put the link. So if anybody is interested in buying the book, just reach out to me. DM me.
It'll be in the show caption on YouTube when this goes up as well. So if you're listening right now and you're watching, just looking at the top of the comment section, it'll be there. So
back to the fights. I appreciate that.
Honestly, with some of these fights, if we want to just do a deep dive on your daughter's novel, I'm A-okay with that.
Yeah. It's not like a teeny bopper girl novel. It's a fantasy novel. It's got like vampires and killing and all kinds of stuff. But I will say this: it's so funny the UFC to go from a card in Mexico City. The crowd is absolutely rocking, and it's a good idea. Let's get an undefeated fighter and a fighter coming off maybe knockout of the year candidate. Knocking out Bryce Mitchell, and let's have him fight in the Apex with 12 people in the crowd. Like that's great.
Yeah, that's that pretty much sums it up, and. The undefeated guy in question happens to be British. If only there were some cards that were like purpose built to put fighters like that over. Like,
yeah, what a mess. Like, I swear.
There aren't many places in the world where the crowd is going to go nuts for Lerone Murphy, but damned if the UFC doesn't go there 3 times a year. So
yeah.
And it's interesting. Like maybe this is one of those cards that was meant to be a UK card, because there are several British fighters on this card. There are several continental Europe fighters on this card. I think they did Ali Oxenfree with like every UFC fighter from Romania.
So I, when you create the card, you got to compare it to, an Apex card, which is, the lowest of the tiers. I'm going to give it a C, and I'm going to give it a C for a reason. Like this card is not good, but Loma Labume is on the card, so instantly that like automatically jumps up like a full letter grade than what it should be. So there's some competitive fights. I think there's a lot of action fights as far as rankings go, other than the main event, and that's probably about the only fight that matters in the rankings. So okay, see.
Yeah, quite a few debuting fighters on this card, a few undefeated fighters, but no off the charts prospects. And several fighters where I went, oh, are they still in the UFC? Oh, okay. But
yeah, why?
Considering that our cut list was 7 fighters and 1 ring announcer last night, maybe we won't have to worry about it for that long. Any other general thoughts on this one before we dive into these prelims?
No, let's get into it.
All right. First up on the UFC Vegas 105 prelims is a strawweight matchup between Vanessa Demopoulos and Talita Alencar. Demopoulos, the 36-year-old Coloradan by way of Ohio, or the other way around, I can't remember which it is 11-6 overall. She's 5-3 since joining the UFC as a veteran of Season 4 of Dana White's Contender Series and as a former LFA strawweight champ. She is coming in off of a loss. She fought most recently back in September, getting armbarred in the first round by Jackie Amorim. That snapped a 2-fight losing streak for her. She will look to start a new one here at the expense of Alencar. 34-year-old Brazilian is 5-1-1 overall. She is 1-1 since joining the UFC out of season 7 of the Contender Series, where she fought to a draw with Stephanie Luciano, but sufficiently impressed the boss that Dana White decided to sign them both. Since joining the UFC, she has a loss to Rayani Amanda in her UFC debut. And then in her sole fight of last year, she rematched Luciano, this time coming out on the wrong end of a unanimous decision. That was back last August. So 2 women here looking to bounce back from losses in their most recent outing. Demopoulos opened as a slight favorite, but that has tightened up, and this fight is effectively a pick 'em at this point. You can get either woman at -110.
Keith? Did that change? Did we find out that Demopoulos had like a late shift the night before at the strip club or something, and that's why the bettors got in? What's going on?
And if you're headed to the comment section right now, letting us have it for bringing up Demopoulos' athletic background before every one of her fights, if you're asking us how long are we going to keep mentioning that, the answer is forever.
The most disturbing thing is their dad playing the music, and that's the craziest shit.
Yep.
Anyways.
Anyway, I mean, we have a 36-year-old and 34-year-old strawweight that are both hovering around 500 in the UFC. I'm not going to even ask you if either of these women is a future champ, but who gets it done on Saturday, and how do you see the fight playing out?
Yeah, I mean, they might be a future champion like slap fighting or something.
Paige Van Zant's waiting.
Yeah, I'll say this about Demopoulos. As much as I bag on her and everything, and she used to be this, when she first came to the UFC, she was this one-dimensional grappler, but she has continued to improve in her striking, and it really has come a long way. It's come to the point where she's, I wouldn't say she's a strong striker, but she's like competent there. She's got good output. She's super tough. I mean, she can take a beating and just keeps bringing it. She throws tight shots. Her straight right is her best blow. There's a lot of like winging overhands, but when she tightens up, I mean, she's pretty solid. I think she's got underrated power. I kind of go back to when she landed a nice overhand right on Jinyu Fry. She hurt Emily Dakota. So you don't think of her as this like striker, but she showed some power. She likes to dip, and then she's looks for a takedown off her opponent's counter punches. She does telegraph her punches really well. I mean that. Bad. She telegraphs them a little too much, loading up too much. She's got a big kicking game. She loves high kicks, though she won't set up a lot of her kicks. Her defense is bad. I mean, and second, like her second idea out there. She's not thinking about defense. She doesn't move her head much. She can close the distance and grind in the clinch. I like her dirty boxing. We already I mentioned she's a grappler. She's a good grappler. She does struggle to get the fight to the ground. She'll kind of shoot and kind of just hope a scramble happens, and then she ends up on top. She's a bad defensive wrestler, though. If the fight gets to the ground, she is good. I mean, she's very flexible. Again, insert kind of stripper joke there. She can catch a submission from anywhere. She looks for subs off her back. She prefers arm bars. She does struggle to get off the bottom, and she actually was subbed in her last fight, so that's concerning. She has good cardio, though. Like, if this is a fight, if it's 1-1 heading to the third round, I'm feeling good about Demopoulos' chances. Move over to Alencar. She's a very poor athlete. She tries to make up for it with a lot of volume on the feet. She wants a brawl. She has some pop, but she gets tagged a lot because she lacks head movement. Her striking, though, is really just to set up her entries. She will shoot a lot, but she's a BJJ practitioner trying to wrestle. Like, her wrestling sucks. Her best takedown might be pulling guard. Now, she's a really good grappler. I think she's won like 6 world championships or something like that. She's got a very good top game if she gets the fight down. Hard ground and pound. She's got 3 subs on her record, but her cardio has been a question mark. She gassed bad in the Contender Series. She gassed a little bit in her last fight. This is an interesting fight. I mean, both are really known for their grappling, but I think Alencar is a better overall grappler. She's more technically sound, where Demopoulos is more opportunistic with her grappling. But on the feet, Demopoulos, I think, is way better. I think that's going to be the difference. I think Alencar is going to go for takedowns. She might get 1 or 2. She could end it if she gets the fight to the ground. But I think ultimately Demopoulos is going to stuff some takedowns, turn it on late, win the later rounds with her volume, with her kicks. Give me Demopoulos by decision.
I'm 100% with you on this. I see them as pretty similar in broad strokes. Like they're both short and stocky for the division. obviously they're both grappling specialists. You mentioned that Alencar is definitely more credentialed, but it's not like Demopoulos has nothing there. Like, she is a former like Naga medalist, which, you know, within the bounds of the United States is as good as it gets. But then all the other stuff, Demopoulos is a better striker, as you mentioned, a more reliable gas tank, appears more durable, better athlete. And unless that is magically slipped badly in the last 6 or 7 months, Demopoulos is a better athlete. If Demopoulos spends a lot of time on the ground here, she is playing with fire because, yeah, like, she has a straightforward route to victory here, and you kind of laid it out. Just wrestle in reverse, just take advantage of Alencar's poor entries, slow feet, kind of lousy takedown game, and just pelt her up from range. And I'm using range in the very relative sense of like a 5'2" woman punching at a 5'1" woman. But yeah, unless Demopoulos makes a bad strategic error here and decides to take it into Alencar's world, I think she wins a pretty straightforward decision here. It would certainly be more fun for me to watch if there was more grappling. I would prefer to see fighters do what they are good at, but if Demopoulos is smart, we don't see much of that, and she just wins a fight where she outlands her in a high volume, low power kickboxing match on the feet, and maybe spend some time in the clinch kind of bullying her there as well. I've got Demopoulos by decision as well. Men's bantamweights take the cage next at UFC on ESPN 65 as Victor Henry squares off against Pedro Falcao. Henry, the 37-year-old Californian, is 24-7 with 1 no contest overall. He is 3-2 with 1 no contest since joining the UFC as a veteran of literally every promotion in Asia. He is coming in off a loss. He fought most recently back in November at UFC Fight Night Moreno versus Albazi, where he got guillotined by Charles Jourdain in the 2nd round. He will look to get back in the win column here against Falcao. 32-year-old Brazilian is 16-4 overall. He is 0-1 since joining the UFC as a veteran of season 5 of Dana White's Contender Series. He won on the Contender Series back in 2021. He was not immediately signed. He went and won one more fight on the regionals before getting the call up just a little under a year ago. He debuted last April at UFC Fight Night Allen versus Curtis, where he dropped a unanimous decision to Victor Hugo. So 2 UFC fights, 2 guys named Victor. He's hoping for a different result this time. According to the odds makers, he's not likely to get it, as Henry is minus 205, Falcao plus 175 as your underdog. Keith, I feel as though we kind of know what we have in Victor Henry, at least, you know, until the wheels start falling off, which I'm not seeing any evidence of yet at age 37. Tell us a little bit about what we've got in Pedro Falcao and whether he gets past Henry on Saturday.
Yeah, I want to disagree with you. I don't think we know what happened with Henry, because I think one fight he looks like a solid middle of the card kind of guy. Like, yeah, he's not going to ever contend for a title, especially not in that division. But, you know, tough out, and then other times he just looks horrendous. So So I don't know that. Falcao, it's funny that you talked about him fighting Victor Hugo. He loses that fight, and then he gets an even tougher matchup, but he gets a tougher Victor. So just really weird matchmaking. What I know about Henry, like he's a good athlete. He's got good footwork. He likes to fight behind a lot of pressure and volume. He's a builder that gets stronger as the fight goes along. He's pretty technical on the feet. He sets up his attacks well with feints. He switches stances in mid combination, which that's a big thing I like. He doesn't have the best power though. More of an arm puncher. Nice kicking game. Kicks to all areas of the body. I always go back to the Tony Gravely fight. That was one where he was really beating Gravely up with teep kicks. He'll throw some silly like axe kicks for no reason though. He will try to wrestle, but he's not very good at it. But if he gets the fight to the ground, he's a solid grappler. He's got 8 submissions on his record. He showed that he's hard to get taken down. Like Tony Gravely or Gravely, I always mess up his name, was going for takedowns against him, and he had pretty good defense in that fight. Good hip control. If taken down, he's hard to hold down, and he can also hit sweeps off his back. Falcao took his UFC debut on Days Notice. I don't think we even previewed it. Like, I think he came in that late after we did the preview show. I see he's a poor striker on the feet. He's a lot of single strikes, mostly like tight hooks. He is open to calf kicks. He was dropped in his UFC debut briefly. It wasn't like hurt bad, but he was dropped. All his blows are kind of to close the distance, where he's kind of pressing forward. He hates being pressured back like Victor Hugo. When Hugo had success, it was a close fight. When he had success, he was pressing Falcao back. Falcao likes to close the distance or work in the clinch. He wants to get the fight to the ground, but he really struggles to get the fight to the ground. He's definitely more of a grappler than a wrestler. But if he gets down, good back takes. He's a weak defensive wrestler. I was impressed with his cardio, like taking a fight in very short notice. Still was fighting hard in the third round. That said, like, with a full camp, he might have beat Victor Hugo, but this is still a big step up. While I think Victor Henry is inconsistent, I still think he's ahead of Falcao. I think he takes the fight to Falcao. I expect him to land a lot of shots on the feet. I think he actually might be the one to get the fight to the ground when he wants to, or he kind of reverses Falcao's entries. I think he beats Falcao up for all 15 minutes. Give me Henry by decision.
Yeah, I underestimated or overlooked Victor Henry a little bit when he came to the UFC. I thought he was a super fun guy to watch over in Ryzen Deep, but he seemed to have a kind of a freewheeling style that went over great, entertaining Japanese crowds. I wasn't sure how well it would translate to him, fighting in kind of a more bottom line oriented UFC bantamweight or featherweight division. And he was already like 32 or 33 when he came to the UFC, which is never great news in the lighter weight classes. But despite being inconsistent, as you mentioned, overall, he's pleasantly surprised me. I would not have guessed the guy would be above 500 in the UFC at this point, 2 or 3 years after getting signed. He is a better athlete than I gave him credit for. He is bigger for this weight class than I gave him credit for. I like kind of seeing him against, I think Masanori Kanehara was the last fight I saw him in Japan before he got signed by the UFC. I was like, oh, this guy's going to get dwarfed by UFC fighters. That really hasn't been the case. But I mean, you were kind of right to correct me when I said we know what we have in him, except in the sense that we have an inconsistent fighter. I like his grappling a lot. It's fun to watch. It's surprisingly effective. His background as a Josh Barnett, Eric Paulson disciple, where, it really comes from catch wrestling more than jiu-jitsu. It makes it kind of fun. I hope he sticks around for a few more fights. Here, I'm with you overall. And again, kind of like the Demopoulos and Alencar fight, these guys are similar in broad strokes. They're fighters whose best skill set is probably their ground game, but they don't have a traditional wrestling attack to get fights to the ground. So, they depend on stuff like creating scrambles, getting trips and stuff out of the clinch. Like, Henry goes for that catch wrestling, elbow, collar, tie and elbow really quickly anytime he clinches. And kind of like the Demopoulos versus Alencar fight, it would be more fun for me as a viewer if these guys just went bananas on the ground and gave me this scramble heavy thing where they're, trying a bunch of low percentage moves on each other. But if Henry's smart and fights to his best advantage, which isn't always a sure bet, I think he can keep this standing. And having reach and probably better striking fundamentals than Falcao, I think he probably wins all 3 rounds that way. If the fight goes to the ground, all bets are off. Henry has looked vulnerable there at times, even in his wins. But if he can keep it standing, I mean, I'm not going to say it's like the Hani Yahya fight where he's fighting someone who's just completely helpless if it's on the feet, but I think he has the advantage there. So I'm going to bank on Victor Henry to do the smart thing, keep it standing as much as possible, kind of pelt Falcao and win at least 2 rounds out of 3 that way. We return to the strawweight division on the UFC Vegas 105 prelims as Loma Lookboonmee faces off against Istela Nunes. Loma, the woman officially Konklak Suphisara that we will call Loma Lookboonmee from now on, 9-3 overall, 6-2 in the UFC, and she's on a 3-fight win streak since losing to Lupi Godinez a little over 3 years ago. Since then, she has wins over Denise Gomez, Elise Reed, and in her most recent outing, a unanimous decision over Bruna Brazil. That's the good news. The bad news, from her standpoint at least, is that those 3 wins are spread across the last 3 years as she has effectively become a once-a-year fighter. I'm sure she would like to break that streak while extending her win streak at the expense of Nunes. Nunes, 32-year-old Brazilian, 6-5 overall with 1 no contest. She is a perfect 0-4 in the UFC. We have not seen her in the cage since July of 2023, where her matchup with Victoria Dudakova lasted just 34 seconds before Nunes had a pretty gruesome arm injury. I want to say that like her elbow came out of the socket, like it was over quick.
Yeah.
On the one hand, that has kept her on the shelf ever since, something like a 20-month layoff. On the upside, at least for her, it's probably the only thing that kept her UFC job, because if she had gone 0-4 in her first 4 fights without a freakish injury, she probably gets cut. Nunes had been scheduled to face Molly McCann in London a couple weeks ago. She was pulled from that card. The bad news for her is that Molly probably would have been like a -200, -300 favorite over Istela Nunes. Loma is -600. With Nunes coming back at +450. Loma, the biggest favorite on the entire card. Here, you said it well. Like, Loma Lookboonmee on being on a card raises it by perhaps a full letter grade. She is just an absolute blast. For fighters that I would be willing to lay money will never be a UFC champ, she might be my favorite. Like, she's one of my favorites to watch, of somebody that is not just because, oh, I want to see greatness in action. Like, if you're familiar with this show at all, you know that I love old school specialists. So you bring me a world Muay Thai champ and I get to watch and see if she can learn to fight in MMA in front of my eyes in the UFC. Sign me the hell up. Like, that's something that I thought was on its way out in 2005. We're still getting it in 2025. I love it. On top of that, people who are visibly tiny for their weight class, among my favorite things to watch. I mean, the only shame here is that this was originally going to be Loma versus Ariane Carnelossi, which would have been, I mean, my fight of the year on paper. Ariane fell out. That's when Istela Nunes steps in here. And yeah, it is, I can feel the cliche coming out. I say it too often. Like, I say that somebody, did my sound just die?
No, you're good.
That's so weird. All right, I'll cut that. All of a sudden I couldn't hear myself. I say way too often that fighter A is better than their record, or more often better than their UFC record looks. I'm not going to say that about Istela Nunes, because at some point you are what your record says you are. And with Nunes in particular, the people that she's lost to, like Sam Hughes and Yasmin Jauregui, are, I mean, they're decent UFC strawweights. Carnelossi and Dudakova really aren't. They're kind of marginal talents, and Nunes hasn't been that competitive in any of these fights. She looks like she should be a better fighter. Like, she's a decent sized strawweight. When she got to the UFC, she was young. I mean, she was like 28 or 29. Just none of it works. Like, in her early days, you know, when she got to the UFC, she was something like, you know, I think she was 5-6-1 or something. You know, she'd gotten by overwhelming, overmatched women with, I mean, not a ton of power, but just good volume and aggression. And she just kind of beat him to death with 1,000 cuts. It hasn't worked on anybody in the UFC. And defensively, the disturbing part is that pretty much anything that her opponents have wanted to try on her has worked. Like, the strikers have been able to box her up. The grapplers have been able to ragdoll her. The Sam Hugheses of the world have just been able to basically win all 3 rounds just by kind of out grinding her. Because of that, I mean, I know what Loma's going to come out and do. She's going to come out, kick her legs, throw her jab. If she thinks the clinch is going to be a safe place for her, she'll, walk her into the fence, initiate the clinch, beat her up with little short knees from there. Loma has proven herself more than willing to look for a takedown if she thinks she has the advantage there, which, again, seeing a specialist come up and be willing to kind of mix her martial arts like that, always got to place my heart for that. Why am I talking this much about a fight where Loma is a minus 600 favorite, and I think the line's about right? The only question for me is whether this makes it to the final horn. I think it does, mostly because Loma, even when she's winning, doesn't really step on the gas and look for the kill. She's just content to kind of keep doing what she's doing until the other person stops her. And whatever else may happen, Nunes has proven to be extremely tough, unless, like her elbow comes out of the socket. So give me Loma to win all 3 rounds here easily. I expect Nunes will look pretty beat up by the end. And yeah, I could see Loma kind of starting to style and maybe like shooting a takedown late just to get the reps in. But yeah, Loma in this one, easy, and she'll probably never fight as a 6-1 favorite in the UFC again for as long as she's in the organization.
Dude, Loma is finally back. I mean, I'm so excited. She's our favorite fighter. I love how we described her in the past. She's more horizontal than she is vertical. We just love her. She's a very good striker. I mean, we make jokes about her and everything. So, but for a short fighter, she really understands distance well. She can work from the outside. She's a Muay Thai stylist. She likes to work from distance. She's got fast hands. She has nice power. I love her kicking game. I mean, she has maybe the hardest leg kicks in all of women's MMA. Her teep kicks up the middle are really good. She actually uses her lack of height to her advantage. When she closes the distance and works in the clinch, kind of gets a good head position. I always go back. I mean, it's a while ago, but like she murdered Jin Yu Fry in the clinch. She's good at framing, landing shots in small spaces, strong knees and elbows inside. Her wrestling continues to improve. I mean, we've seen in every match. She wrestles a lot more than people think. I mean, she out-wrestled Sam Hughes. She out-wrestled Denise Gomez. Yeah, sure, Lupe Godinez destroyed her with the wrestling, but I mean, we know how much I love Lupe Godinez's wrestling.
Yeah, and Lupe celebrated by not wrestling at all for the next 2 years.
Yeah, well, that's why we finally got it going this past weekend. But Lubumi, she does need to improve her get-up game, but she got a submission to get to Lisa Reed, and Reed's not too bad of a not the highest level UFC fighter, but Istela Nunes. She's very athletic. She's a Muay Thai striker. They say she's like a 2-time world champion, but I mean, we've talked about this. If anybody's ever taken a Muay Thai class, somehow you become a world champion. She's got good footwork. She uses feints really well to set up her traps. She works behind a good jab. She's a counter striker. Though she hated the pressure from Yasmin Haragi, she's one of the few people that she can back up and land strikes as she's backing up, which is very impressive. But she backs up a lot because she stays on the center line. She dropped Yasmin Haragi in their fight, which was impressive. So she's got some power. She's got some nice kicks. She really generates power by turning over her hip. She likes teep kicks. She likes switch kick high kicks. She can close the distance, work in the clinch well. Also likes framing, land shots, knees inside. Not the best defense though. She's been hurt a lot for someone who's supposed to be a decorated kickboxer. But the problem is that's all she is as a kickboxer. She has like no offensive wrestling. She's a terrible defensive wrestler. You take her down, she struggles to get back up. And the worst thing is if you can't get back up, you at least have like submission defense. That's not the case with her. She's a weak grappler. She's been subbed, a couple times so far in the UFC. If this fight remains on the feet, I think the fight could actually be closer than the line suggests. I still would favor Loma. But I think they're both good strikers. I think they're both good in the clinch. But say this about Loma, like she has started to really transition to MMA, where she's starting to wrestle and use her wrestling. I think she turns into a wrestling. Like I think she'll wrestle a lot more than you suggested a couple times. I think she's going to go there early. I think she's going to take Nunes down. I think she's going to beat her up on the ground. Dude, I'm going to go out on a limb. I'm going to say Loma gets another submission win. I'm going to say Loma wins by second round sub.
Next up on the UFC Vegas 105 prelims, Keith, I never usually wish for this, but this fight makes me wish that both Bruce Buffer and Daniel Cormier are going to be working this Saturday, because it is Dione Belbita versus Dione Barbosa. And how bad would it be if we had Buffer and DC on their respective mic duties? Because I mean, Buffer.
And somehow they'd say like neither name. They'd come up with like a third name.
I mean, Buffer has proven that he would strike out at T-ball. But DC, if the last names are too similar, he'll just start calling them by their first names, and there's no safe place here. Dione Belbita versus Dione Barbosa. And that's pretty much the most exciting thing about this fight. Belbita, the 28-year-old Romanian, 15-9 overall, 2-5 in the UFC. She's on a 2-fight losing streak, dating back about a year and a half. Her most recent appearance was a little over a year ago. It was last February at UFC Fight Night, Dalidze versus Imavov, where she got armbarred by Molly McCann late in the first round. So she's looking to snap that losing streak. We would assume that her job is on the line, but who knows? At any rate, she would love to get it back against Barbosa. 32-year-old Brazilian, 7-3 overall, 1-1 since joining the UFC out of season 7 of Dana White's Contender Series. She tapped out my local friend of a friend, Rain Guerrero, on the Contender Series. She made her debut last May at UFC 301, winning a unanimous decision over Ernesta Carrascaite. That got her a date with Miranda Maverick last July at UFC on ESPN, Lemos versus Jandiroba. A fringe contender like Maverick proved to be a little too much for her, and she came out on the wrong end of a unanimous decision. So two women looking to get back in the win column here, perhaps a little more desperation in the air for the one than for the other. This is another wide line, as Barbosa is minus 500, Belbita plus 360. So we just finished talking about Loma Lookboonmee, and obviously, you know, she's a fighter that we both enjoy breaking down her fights. We both enjoy watching. And in both cases, it sounds to me like it's one of the reasons, at least, is because it's been fun to watch a Muay Thai standout pick up the other elements of mixed martial arts and employ them not just as like an emergency, you know, measure, but actually mixing her martial arts, you know, using wrestling to dictate the fight. That is everything that Dione Belbita has not done. Dione Belbita was a pretty decorated and pretty experienced kickboxer on the Euro scene. She transitioned to MMA, I mean, a long time ago. It's over 10 years ago at this point. And she's simply not adapted to MMA. Like, whether she's fighting at 115 or 125, she's tall, lanky, willowy for either division, and just she lacks the footwork to dictate space against shorter fighters who want to get inside and punch her in the face. Like, unless her opponent is a completely willing accomplice to it, she's had trouble getting her kicking game going against anybody. She's lacked the physical strength to keep women just from physically getting their hands on her and tossing her on the ground, like women who want her on the ground. And her ground game is terrible. Like when she fought Liana Jojua a few years back, I mean, they were basically body doubles of each other. They had a lot of the same strengths and a lot of the same limitations. And between the two of them, Jojua was the one that kind of bodied her, threw her on the ground, and really dominated her on the ground. And I've not seen her particularly improve from that. Because of that, like I don't have a ton of faith in Dione Barbosa's upside, but what I do know about her is that she's an actual, like, powerfully built flyweight who has leveraged aggression and physical strength on her way to most of her wins. Because of that, I get why the line is what it is. I'm not particularly a betting man myself, but I feel pretty good about Barbosa at minus 500, because even if she fouls up, like, Belbita isn't the kind of person that is going to just land one kill shot and end the fight. So Barbosa can really crash the pocket with impunity, try to get her hands on Belbita, shove her to the fence, get her on the ground. And from there, I think it's academic. If Barbosa gets Belbita down, I think she probably pummels her a little bit and taps her in the first round. If this plays out on the feet more, like if Barbosa doesn't really want to commit to that, if she wants to try kickboxing with Belbita, I think she could probably have some success there as well. Like Belbita doesn't react well to being put on the back foot. Like I said, she is someone who would prefer a distance kickboxing match, but just doesn't seem to have the footwork or the physical strength to dictate that against people that want to close the distance. She just ends up backing straight up, getting backed into the fence and getting bullied. So I feel pretty strongly about Barbosa here. Give me Barbosa by second round submission, but honestly, first round submission wouldn't shock me either. I don't think Dione Belbita has shown more than flashes of being UFC material, and I don't think that changes here.
The UFC, being that Bruce Buffer has been in the UFC so long, they should get him let him commentate one fight. Like John Anik sits this one up, Buffer takes the chair, DC's next to him, they're butchering it. Listen, I shouldn't talk. If they were asking for a third guy to butcher the names, they could just toss me on the card too, and I'd be just as bad. Like me saying their names wrong, but then also add in that the Boston accent on top of it. It'd be a disaster. Imagine me trying to Talita Alencar.
Well, you know what? The Boston accent, maybe they just think that Anik was there but drunk.
Yeah.
Man, Anik's swearing a lot and he's not great with the names this time. Why
does he keep talking about Bo Nickel for some reason? Did John Anik just say slapping titties? He keeps saying wicked. As far as this fight, Barbosa, she's a really good athlete. That thing that stands out to me, she's kind of raw, but I like her athleticism. She's very big for the weight class, fairly well-rounded. I like her footwork. She's got fast hands. She attacks with combinations. She'll throw way too many spinning attacks for my liking, but she doesn't need. She doesn't need that stuff. She can be technical. She's got a big kicking game. She throws a lot of high kicks. She's got a really fast high kick. When she closes distance, she's so good in the clinch. You're talking about an Olympian in judo. Obviously, she has throws. She has foot sweeps. She won't scramble to win a position, though. Instead, if she can't get the fight done, she'll pull guard, which is really weird. If the fight hits the ground, she is a BJJ black belt. She's got nice back takes. She has 3 submission wins. I've seen her hit some incredible armbar. She made an incredible armbar in the Contender Series matchup. She also hit a nice sweep. She will play BJJ a little bit too much off her back, and some of that has to do with the judo background. Judo, you don't get pinned quickly. You don't have to really work on your back. They kind of stand you back up. And cardio is also an issue. She faded late against Vanessa how do I say her name? Caracati. I don't know. This is what you get, Ben, for I should have just skipped that one. I should have just skipped that line in my notes. I should have just said she's faded in the past. And she's also, obviously, she's gotten into the game a little later than you would have liked. Belbita, she's got that K1 kickboxing background, but to me, that does not have the same ring as it used to do back in the day. She's a bit of a stationary target. She just has good volume. She works behind a strong jab. She'll throw some tight power shots behind it. She's throws some nice straight shots down the pipe. She mixes kicks and punches together well. She's got a big kicking game. She is open to leg kicks herself. She likes to close the distance and work in the clinch. She looks for Muay Thai sweeps inside. She's not much of an offensive wrestler. She did hit a headlock against Karolina Kovacevic, but I think it's more fluky than anything. She's a terrible defensive wrestler. Everybody's taking her down. Everybody beats her up on the ground. She got battered on the ground by Molly McCann, which is a loss that has not aged well either. She has bad submission defense. She's got 5 submission losses. So on the feet, because of how athletic Barbosa is, I think it's fairly even though Belbita is more technical. I think Barbosa is more explosive. Get to the fight to the ground. Barbosa's head and shoulders better than Belbita. I like how you said that you don't view Barbosa as a, I mean, I know she's older, but like this like hot prospect or someone that, someone who could really rise rankings. It's weird when you look at her skill set, how good of an athlete is, how she moves, her size, her, obviously her Olympic background in judo, her BJJ black belt. She has all like the attributes of what you think of top athlete. For some reason, she just like does not blend them all together. Like she doesn't. It's like she has all the ingredients for this like wonderful, like pancakes. You're making beautiful pancakes. You're not like wasting time with waffles. You got pancakes. You got you got your flour. You got your I don't know what's in pancakes. Yeah, you might have some maple syrup. You got your blueberries. You can put them all together and make this wonderful pancake, but she just doesn't do it. She's got them all over the place. So I really think the upside can be there if she puts it all together. I feel like this is a showcase fight for her. I think she takes Belbita right down, quickly subs her. Give me Barbosa by first round submission.
Welterweights are up next at UFC on ESPN 65 as Rhys McKee squares off against Daniel Frunza. McKee, the 29-year-old Irishman, is 13-6-1 overall. He's 0-4 across two separate stints in the UFC, 0-2 in this most recent run with the promotion. He came to the UFC originally as a standout in Cage Warriors as a lightweight and a welterweight. He got cut after two losses, went back to Cage Warriors, won the welterweight title, and was re-signed about 18 months ago. He's lost two more since then to Angelosa and Chidi Njokuani. The most recent of those, the Njokuani fight, was almost exactly a year ago at UFC on ESPN, Blanchfield versus Fior. So McKee still looking for his first win in the UFC. He will need to get past Frunza to do it. 30-year-old Romanian is 9-2 overall. This will be his debut. He fought on the Contender Series last September, knocking out Vadim Kutsian in the first round. He's on a 5-fight win streak overall. He will look to extend it to 6. He is moderately favored to do so, as the debuting welterweight is -170, McKee +140 coming back. I hardly need to say this about Rhys McKee, a guy that is 0-4 in the UFC, but I don't think either of these guys has a ton of upside. Like, honestly, even though McKee is already 0-4 in the UFC and Frunza is just debuting off of a pretty good knockout on the Contender Series, I probably see more upside in McKee than in Frunza, if I'm being honest. Like, McKee looks better than he did in his first run. Like, his first run in the UFC, he gets a complete, worse. He gets a complete mulligan as a guy that stepped in against Hamzat Chimaev.
Sure.
And at that point, McKee had been fighting at lightweight like 18 months before that. Like, yeah. It was a war crime of a matchup. It looked like a war crime in the cage. Much more disturbing is that
you could have gave him like a machete. He still ain't winning that fight.
Exactly. So
give him a taser or something.
So they give McKee another chance to prove he belongs in the UFC. He gets matched up against my guy Alex Morono, and Morono completely pancakes him.
He didn't waffle him. He pancaked him.
He did not waffle him. He pancaked him. Yeah.
Right now, the people who don't listen to the recap are like, "What the hell?" They keep talking
about
hell
these guys
waffles and pancakes. That's why we're not gonna tell you. That's why you can't miss the recap.
Yeah. McKee. Like, if you lose a real straightforward decision to Alex Morono because he took you down 13 times, you might not belong in the UFC. That fight is mostly memorable because McKee managed to lose his mouthpiece in that little half-inch gap between the cage and the mat, and the fight just stopped for 5 minutes while somebody ran back into the locker room and got McKee a replacement mouthguard. That was a weird one. Anyway, then he went and won 3 straight in Cage Warriors, all of them by knockout. One of them for the welterweight title, though. It was over Judo Jim Wallhead, who somehow is not 70 years old. At any rate, since he's been back, he's had to fight Angelosa and Chidi Njokuani. Again, it just feels unfair. But ultimately, if McKee wants to be a UFC welterweight, he's going to have to get past the Angelosas and Chidi Njokuanis of the world. McKee's problem definitely was in like 2023 and still is to a certain extent. He's tall and gangly and just not terribly physically strong. His nickname is Skeletor, and that had to have been given to him when he was a lightweight, because he really did look skeletal as a lightweight. But even as a welterweight, like, he's tall, gangly, long-legged, and it's just been too easy for people to take him down. He's a good striker given space, and he's a good top position grappler, but if he ends up in top position, it's because his opponent has made a terrible, terrible mistake. I don't think Daniel Frunza is that long for the UFC, but what he is a come forward striker who throws hard. Like, when I watch him, he'll kick and punch, but his kill shots are his punches. He mostly kicks to kind of set up his punches. Again, if McKee manages not to get cut again here, like, I do think he's improving. He's still just 29 years old, but I don't think he gets out of this one. I think Frunza probably clocks him, and I think he probably clocks him in the first round. Like, he's only a -170 favorite, just I think because he's a debuting fighter, and McKee at least has experience against much higher level fighters, but I don't think McKee is defensively sound enough to keep Frunza from just clocking him with an overhand. And that's kind of what I see. It's like a couple awkward early exchanges. Frunza catches McKee with something big in one of the first exchanges. McKee goes backing away. Frunza swarms. This thing's over in like 3 minutes. Give me Daniel Frunza by first round knockout.
Dude, I love that his nickname was Skeletor because of my days of being a 80s kid. When I was like 5 years old, like He-Man was like life.
Oh yeah,
and that's what says Skeletor. My mom always remembers when I was like, I don't know, 5 years old, going to the beaches here in Rhode Island, the Ocean State, and my mom let me play with my like He-Man dolls in the water, and I'm playing with He-Man and Skeletor, and I put the Skeletor guy down, and the water took him. But mind you, I was like 5, so I was completely determined to get my Skeletor from the water, and I just kept going out trying to get the Skeletor that was floating away. And I almost drowned, like 5 years old, trying to save a Skeletor. So, yeah, I think I was like in my head, and I was like trying to throw punches, and I still somehow generated more power than Rhys McKee can with his punches. Being 5 years old and in water, but I mean, Rhys McKee, it's so funny when you talk about Rhys McKee. I just always picture that knockout against Chimaev. Like, I always forget everything else that has happened after that. But this guy could go on a run and win his next 20 fights. I'm always going to think about this Chimaev knockout. He's a minus athlete, but he's a long and lanky kind of guy. I say he's a tactical striker. Like, offensively, he works behind a nice jab. He's got surprising snap on his shots. He throws some good calf kicks, though he will throw a lot of naked calf kicks. He's a builder. He gets stronger as the fight goes on. You mentioned that he's looked better, even though he's lost. He has started to look better in fights. I mean, he was his last fight was razor close. He's good from range, and though he will get called into a brawl, which isn't the smartest, basically not smart based on his defense and his durability. I'm not a fan of his defense. He stands really tall, as you mentioned. He moves his head straight back instead of side to side. He's also open to like the body because he pulls his head straight back. He doesn't like pressure. I mean, you mentioned Jim Wallhead. Wallhead had a lot of success for a guy who's really outmatched with just pressured him. He's a poor offensive wrestler. He does try it, which I think is a good thing, that he does look for takedowns, but he doesn't really set up his entries. He's a really bad defensive wrestler. You talked about getting taken down by Alex Moreno over and over again. Jim Wallhead took him down. He does have 3 subs on his record, so he can catch a sub. And he's got good cardio. Like, he can go deep into fights. Danny Frunza. I love that name. It sounds like a character from Goodfellas or something. Like, Frunza. Yeah. He's a poor athlete, but he fights with a lot of pressure. He's kind of like this hold your ground type striker. He's not going to take a step back. He's got nice straight shots. He really steps into his shots. He's got good power. He's got 8 TKOs. I like his step and elbows. He's got a fast high kick. He throws a lot of calf kicks, though he will throw him naked. He was hurt a lot on the Contender Series in the fight that he won. He really won because his opponent just got tired. I mean, he was getting beat up a little bit. Not much of an offensive grappler. He's a weak defensive grappler. He struggles to get off his back. He does need to improve his sub-defense. He's got good cardio. I think this is a tough one. It's because I'm not that high on either guy. I've kind of flip-flopped. I'm going to say fifth time's the charm. I'm going to go with McKee.
All right.
He's faced a better competition. His chin definitely worries me, especially with, Frunza is known for his power. But I actually think he might have the wrestling advantage. I think that I like that he's got the length advantage. I think he can kind of teep kick from the outside when he closes in, get maybe a takedown or something. I think it's going to be really close, but I'm going to say McKee wins by split decision.
And here's a follow-up question for you. Like, I need you to show out for Southern New England here a little bit. How is Daniel Frunza in the UFC and Gary Boletto Jr., who completely throttled him, is not yet? Like,
yeah, and Gary, I mean, if you know his dad he have an amazing story. Like, his dad was a former boxer. I think he's in like the New England Boxing Hall of Fame. He was on the what was the Sugar Ray Leonard show with back in the day? It's kind of like Tough, but for boxers.
I know the one you're talking about.
Yeah,
I keep thinking the Iron Ring, but no, that was the MMA one that was on like BET. No, that was one they were getting taught by like Nelly. They're getting taught by like, it was amazing. Like just having like Charles Crazy Horse Bennett and like Lupe Fiasco like yelling instructions at people from the corner. Like, what the fuck?
Yeah, I forget what that one was called, but it had like I think Sugar Ray Leonard was in charge of it, and like Sylvester Stallone was in it, and
The Contender.
Yeah, The Contender. He ended up getting paralyzed. Gary Boletto Jr. He's like a quadriplegic.
Oh, how in the hell did I?
His dad, not the son.
Oh, his dad. Okay.
Oh, no, the dad. Yeah. Sorry, the dad.
I was like, I thought Gary Boletto Jr. was still.
No, not junior,
like,
not junior.
Okay.
I'm sorry if I said junior. Senior. Senior got paralyzed. Yeah. But Gary's a great dude. And his dad's a great dude. I mean, we see him at the fights all the time. He's such a good dude. But Frunza has got a cool name.
He does have a cool name. But that wasn't enough for you to pick him, and I respect that. We need a little disagreement here. Men's bantamweights are up next at UFC on ESPN 65 as Davey Grant faces off against Daniel Santos. Grant, the 39-year-old Englishman, is 16-7 overall. He is 7-6 since joining the UFC as the bantamweight runner-up of season 18 of The Ultimate Fighter. He is coming in off a win. He fought most recently back in December at UFC on ESPN Covington versus Buckley, where he took a unanimous decision over Ramon Tavares. He will look to make it 2 in a row against the returning Santos. 30-year-old Brazilian is 12-2 overall. He is 2-1 in the UFC. He's on a 2-fight win streak, all in the UFC. That's the good news. The bad news is that the most recent of those wins is almost 2 full years ago, as he has been shelved with a number of injuries. But last time we saw him was in June of 2023 at UFC on ESPN, Cara France versus Albazi, where he took a unanimous decision over Johnny Munoz Jr. So Santos back in the cage, back healthy, looking to make it 3 wins in a row. He is moderately favored to do so, as he is minus 170. Grant is plus 140. Keith, something I should have mentioned off the top, and there's no real good place to insert it now, so I'm just going to say it now. The UFC Mexico card, like, I did something I haven't done in the entire history of our show. I picked all favorites, and I came close to... Yeah, I went like...
It still was a good night for you.
Yeah, I went 10 for 12. And that's because most of the favorites won. This is a card where I have the feeling there's going to be a ton of upsets. I'm just not dead sure which ones they're going to be. Like, I don't know how else to put it. Like, there's 13 fights on this card. I wouldn't be surprised if the underdog wins like 5 or 6 of them.
Nice. Yeah, I hope so. That's how I root for stuff like that.
Sure. Like... Otherwise, there's not much point in watching a fight between 2 unranked guys where one of them is like a minus 250 favorite. Like, unless there's some suspense, why are we even watching this? But I'm not saying this is particularly one of those, but give me your take on this one. It's 39-year-old Davey Grant versus 30-year-old but recuperating from injury Daniel Santos. Plenty of question marks over both guys. Who gets it done?
Yeah, this is definitely one of the better fights on the card. Davey Grant is a guy that he has really grown on me over the years. He's 39, so obviously you're always waiting for him to fall apart, especially at, when you look at the lighter weight classes, those are always, really concerning as you age. Light heavyweight, you feel a little bit better about the older guys, but and he's also never been a good athlete, but he's just, we call him this way. He's just been this true overachiever because he's just super tough as nails kind of guy. He presses the action, doesn't stop despite I've seen him get hurt many times. It just the worst thing you could do to David is hit him because it's like Rocky 3 when he starts getting mad when he's getting punched. He's got really nice volume. Better boxer than I think he gets credit with. He's got, his hands look sharper at 39 than they did at 35. Nice variety in striking. He throws a lot of power shots. He can overswing at times, but if you can he has some power. I mean, he knocked out Martin Day, he knocked out Jonathan Martinez, which obviously that was a long time ago, but that's a fight that they'll win that and ended really well, aged well, I should say. But he hurt Yanez in the fight. He gets hurt a lot himself too, though, which is concerning. He's got a big kicking game. He loves that, the Holly Holm side kick. He loves crushing the body with kicks. He throws a lot of calf kicks. It was a while ago, but he basically beat Louis Smoke with just calf kicks. He does some stupid spinning attacks though, just kind of wild. It's just he flows with the fight, doing that kind of thing. He can sneak in takedowns, though he's a bad defensive wrestler, but he's hard to hold down. He's got 9 subs on his record, so he can catch someone in a scramble. I mean, he hit a Sun Sao and an inverted triangle choke, and he has cardio. I mean, he presses down on the gas, and he's got to go hard all 50 minutes. Even if you beat Davey Grant, you're going to be in for a war. Santos, I mean, he's the complete opposite. I mean, he's a great athlete. He's got nice volume. He's a pressure boxer. He really kind of took it to Castaneda with his pressure. He showed off a great chin against Castaneda, but he was getting tagged and he just kept moving forward. He's got quick hands. He has got some good pop. I love that he works the body. He's got a big kicking game, hard kicks to the body, good step in knees. He'll throw in some spinning attacks. He's very hittable though. He doesn't move his head. He keeps it high in the air. He doesn't really duck it down. He also keeps dipping to the right, and that's why he got high kicked twice by John Castaneda. He dipped into high kicks. He will look to get the fight to the ground, but I wouldn't say he's much an offensive grappler. He's more like like Vanessa Demopoulos, where he's shooting and just kind of create a scramble. He has 2 submission wins, and he showed good sub defense against a good grappler in Johnny Munoz. I think this is a really fun fight. I mean, I always feel that way with Davey Grant fights. I think both guys are action guys. I think both guys are good strikers. I think Davey Grant's a better striker than he gets credit with. I think they're both underrated grapplers. But Davey Grant's my boy, man. I think both guys have their moments, but Grant's toughness, his volume, he's at that age it could all fall apart, and it wouldn't surprise me if this is the card. But until I see that decline, I think he's looked really good lately. I'm going to see his volume, his variety, maybe even winning it, getting a takedown, timely takedown, going hard, not fading late. I think all those little things is going to give him a very narrow, I'll say, split decision win for Davey Grant.
I love it. It is a unanimous upset pick from Shillen and Duffy here. And just echoing some of the things that you threw out there, I agree that plenty of people, and even us to a certain extent, we've kind of underestimated Grant, discounted some of his accomplishments because.
Well, we converted early though. We converted before a lot of people.
But
sure,
it isn't always pretty, but it's hard to argue with the results. Like you mentioned, he's a better striker than he gets credit for. You don't beat Marlon Vera, knock out Jonathan Martinez, and take Adrian Yanez and Daniel Marcos to the wire if you can't take care of yourself on the feet. And yeah, Vera got him back in their rematch, but dude, he schooled Vera the first time they fought. It ended up being 30-26 because Vera got deducted a point, for grabbing the gloves in the third round, but he won all 3 rounds against a future title challenger, like no question. Obviously, it's all gotta fall off at some point here. He's 39 years old, but you know what? He fought in December, just a couple days before his 39th birthday, and he still looked pretty damn good. Like, yeah, I'm with you. Santos obviously has higher upside. If one of these guys is ever going to be ranked in the division, it's almost certainly Santos, who's 10 years younger and a better athlete. But I think Grant wins this one. If like, gun to my head, Grant wins this by winning the second and third rounds. I could see him kind of just struggling with the speed, the pace, the variety of Santos's offense in the first round, and then just kind of buckling down. Maybe Santos starts to get a little tired. Maybe Grant just starts figuring him out, starts boxing, mixes in an occasional takedown. I don't know. But give me Grant to win rounds 2 and 3 here and pick up the decision in our first and maybe our last unanimous upset pick of the night. Next up at UFC Vegas 105, and at least as the card is constituted as of the beginning of fight week, the top prelim is a men's flyweight contest between Buday Osbourne and the debuting Luis Gurule. Osbourne, the 33-year-old Wisconsinite, is 12-8 with 1 no contest overall. He is 4-6 since joining the UFC out of season 3 of Dana White's Contender Series, and while he hovered around as a roughly 500 fighter for most of that time, he is currently mired in a 3-fight losing streak, including both of his cage appearances of last year. He got tapped out by Jafel Filho in the first round last March at UFC Fight Night Tuivasa versus Tybura. He came back in September at Noche UFC and dropped a unanimous decision to Ronaldo Rodriguez. So he's looking to snap the first losing streak of any kind of his career, possibly save his roster spot. In order to do so, he will need to spoil the debut of Gurule. 31-year-old Colorado native is a perfect 10-0 as a pro. He fought on the Contender Series last October, taking a split decision over Nick Piccinini. Prior to that, he had been on a 5 or 6 fight win streak in Fury Fighting Championships that almost certainly would have had him fighting for the belt by this point had he not gotten signed. But nope, instead, he got the call to the big show, and he is a greater than 2-1 favorite in his debut, as he is minus 210, Osbourne plus 170. Keith, I'll flip this to you. I mean, Buday Osbourne has gone from being inconsistent to being consistent, but not in the way you want to be.
Yeah.
Does he break the chain here?
Yeah. Wow. I was surprised that the UFC newcomer is like almost, would you say 2-1 favorite? Like, that was surprising.
Yeah, it is. Yep.
Yeah. I like this matchup. So you didn't ask me, what my favorite undercard fight. I mean, I'm almost always going to go with the flyweight fight, but this I think this is a really fun, interesting matchup. Buday, I feel like we broke this guy down a lot, and he's actually one of the fighters I have a lot of notes on. A guy, he's southpaw, he's long and lengthy. He likes to work from distance. He's got good volume. He's got like this controlled aggression where he fights at a high volume, but it's not like berserker or anything like that. I see he's fairly technically sound. He's got fast hands. He's accurate. He's explosive. He attacks with combination. His check right hook is his best punch. He has some power. He'll throw some spinning attacks, and he'll do this jump. Like, he'll try to jump in the air and show his athleticism, and for no reason. And I always go back to the Tyson Nam fight where Nam blasted into next week because of it. His kicks are good. He uses a lot of teep kicks, a lot of calf kicks, but he plants his legs, so he has his long legs, so he's open to attacks himself. He relies a lot on head movement, but sometimes he'll pull his head straight back, which is why Manel Kopp destroyed him because of it. It just stepped right in, and he pulled his head back, and Kopp just cracked him. I'd say he's a solid wrestler. I mean, he got takedowns against Charles Johnson. That was probably the difference in the fight. But he's not as good as a wrestler as I think he thinks he is. If he gets the fight to the ground, he's got some good ground and pound. He's got 4 subs. I hate that he'll like lose position going for subs. Like there was one fight he was going for ankle locks and stuff. He also struggled to get off the bottom against Lazy Boy Rodriguez. I'm also worried about his sub defense. I mean, he was quickly subbed by Philo. He's got, you guys start questioning his chin too. I mean, he was blasted by Cobb, he was blasted by Nam. I've said this before. He might be a front runner when things get hard. He tends to fold a little bit, and he gassed. He gassed against Rodriguez, which was concerning. Gurule, I'll say this: I liked what I saw on the Contender Series, but I still thought that he lost to Nick Piccinini. Piccinini, a guy who was a very high level wrestler. I mean, he got a pin against Spencer Lee. I still struggle with that name, but what we've seen in this guy is a kickboxer. He cuts angles really well. He's always like kind of like attacking, sidestepping and stuff, which I like. Nice volume, attacks with combination. He works the body. That's a big part of his thing. He's got plus power. He has 5 TKOs. That's because he really keeps his legs underneath him. He's kind of like a poor man's Michael Chandler in that case, or he a lot of kicks. I like his front kicks. He closes the distance and strikes well in the clinch. He did good work against Piccinini with clinch work. He's solid offensive wrestler. I was really impressed with the scrambles. Good at winning scrambles. He's hard to hold down. I mean, Piccinini is a guy that Piccinini, like, be able to notice, his senior year was during like the COVID thing. He could have won an NCAA title. Like, I don't know if he was going to. I wouldn't have bet on it, but he had an outside chance. And Piccinini struggled to kind of hold him down at portions. As the fight went on, Piccinini started doing much better controlling. But early on, I mean, Gurule was like Granby rolling and just showing really great athleticism. So as far as his matchup against O'Day Osbourne, I think it's a really fun fight. It's a tough fight in your UFC debut. I've kind of always liked Osbourne. I think he's been a bit of an underachiever. I think he's had flashes where he could be special. But I also think Gurule is a really good addition to the UFC. I think both guys are going to have their moments. I expect Gurule to kind of press the action. If Osbourne gets a takedown, I can see Gurule scrambling, get back to his feet, being on the gas. I think his nonstop action is going to be the reason why I think Osbourne's going to fade. And I think as he fades, Gurule's going to take over. I'm going to say Gurule wins a decision in his UFC debut.
Man, O'Day Osbourne has been a frustrating guy to watch. And his wins in their own way are as frustrating as his losses. Like, the way O'Day Osbourne fought against Charles Johnson, if he fought that way every time out, I mean, he might not be a contender, but he'd be above 500 in the UFC right now. And in the current flyweight division, that might be enough to be a fringe contender. Like, against Johnson, all he did was understand where his advantages lay, take advantage of those advantages, and do a bare minimum of, like, flying, spinning bullshit. Like, that's all it really took. Just don't trip over your own feet. And he beat Charles Johnson, who, I mean, he might be ranked by Sherdog right now. Like, he's a very good flyweight. Yeah, it's gotten worse and worse for Osbourne. Like, Osbourne's first couple losses in the UFC. Okay, Brian Kelleher, short notice, up a weight class. Manel Kopp blew weight, and it's Manel Kopp. So, yeah, he's fighting a future title contender who missed weight by like 5 pounds. But since then, yeah, like his sub defense obviously has been exposed, and you kind of, yeah, he's appears to be kind of a front runner. That's what I liked about the Charles Johnson fight, because his best moments otherwise, win or lose, have been him trying to find single moments of just big offense and either get a finish or turn fights on like one huge shot. And against Charles Johnson, again, it was just a more patient, methodical performance. Like, if he spent less time trying to be spectacular and more just trying to win the round, I think he'd be doing better. I don't know if he would have beaten Almabayev and Filio, because I think those are both very good fighters. They might just be better than him, but he hasn't been giving himself his best chance to win each time out. Gurule, I don't love that he's a 10-fight veteran and he's already, 31 and a half. That's not great, especially at 125 pounds. But you pointed out the win over Nick Piccinini on the Contender Series is better than people give him credit for. And then while he was cleaning house at Fury, he beat some good guys. Like Jacob Silva didn't have great results in the UFC, but he's been dominant at flyweight down in here in Texas for as long as I've been covering the sport in person. Jonathan Davis that he beat also is a guy that I expect will at least be on the Contender Series, maybe this season, but would not be surprised at all to see in the UFC at some point. Like, he beat good guys on the way up. I mean, hell, Silva and Davis might be better than some of the people Osbourne's beaten in the UFC. It's hard for me to pick Osbourne against anyone I know is just going to come forward relentlessly and throw offense at him, because Osbourne has enough defensive lapses that Gurule's probably going to clip him, and Gurule's going to keep trying. Like, yeah. Give me Gurule by TKO. This will probably be a fun back and forth fight, at least in spurts. I could see Osbourne having some big moments, maybe like landing a big shot on Gurule, but Gurule's going to tag him repeatedly, and that's going to start telling on Osbourne eventually. He doesn't wear damage well. He doesn't wear adversity well. Give me Gurule by third round TKO. The 6-fight main card of UFC on ESPN 65 begins with a middleweight matchup between the debuting Torrez Finney and Robert Valentin. Finney, the 26-year-old Tennessee native, I believe training out of Alabama now, is a perfect 10-0 as a professional. This will be his UFC debut. He is, I believe, the first ever 3-time winner on Dana White's Contender Series. He won on season 7 back in fall of 2023, and then he fought twice on the Contender Series last season, taking a unanimous decision over Cameron Rowston in August, then coming back in October and knocking out Abdullah Arami in the first round. Third time was the charm. He finally got the call up, or perhaps they finally said, okay, yes, you are tall enough to ride. I don't know which it was, but either way, he's making his debut on Saturday against Valentin. 30-year-old from Switzerland is 10-4 with 1 no contest overall. He's 0-1 in the UFC. He made his debut last August at UFC on ESPN, Cannonier versus Bajallo, where he got knocked out in the second round by Ryan Loder. So he's still looking for his first UFC win as well. He is not favored to get it, as Finney is a comfortable minus 240 favorite. Valentin coming back at plus 180. Obviously, Joe Silva was the UFC's matchmaker for 15 years plus. He was as instrumental in his own way at making the UFC a dominant force as Dana White or anybody else. And he always had a little bit of a sense of humor about things. I mean, we're talking about someone in Joe Silva that matched up Dennis Hallman against John Howard just so he could have Superman versus Doomsday. Like, this is a Joe Silva type matchup. Like, I do wonder if Sean Shelby is just like, I want to see these two guys at the ceremonial weigh-ins. I want to see if I can have like the biggest height discrepancy in a middleweight fight in UFC history. Torrez Finney, at least thus far, is kind of like, who was the short, stocky wrestler guy? The guy, it was like shitty Daniel Cormier, basically. What the hell's his name? He only got cut like a year ago.
Oh, he's like, start with a D. Oh, yeah, Cormier's a little fucking stooge. I'm trying to think who he fought. He fought Gerald Meerschaert? I feel like he fought Gerald Meerschaert. Let me look it up. I know exactly. He'd miss weight all the time.
Yeah.
Oh, what the fuck was his name? He was a great wrestler back in the day.
Yeah.
Maybe he didn't fight Gerald Meerschaert. Oh, Duran Wynn.
Thank you. All right. Like, maybe Sean Shelby was like, I kept trying to do this with Deron Wynn, but he kept missing the middleweight limit. So we'll try it again with Torrez Finney. Torrez Finney has about as much muscle as you can pack onto a frame and still be a reasonably athletic guy. It's like it is kind of ridiculous. And he is a hell of a lot of fun to watch fight. I mean, he is a fast twitch guy. He, thus far at least, has not had too much trouble getting inside and landing big punches on people that have 6 or 7 inches of reach on him. It just hasn't mattered. Like, it's not a terribly technical or refined looking wrestling game, but it's pretty effective, like especially on his regional fights. If he wanted the fight on the ground, he was typically able to get it there, and just frightening ground and pound. It'll be interesting to see, like against Valentin. Valentin's best route to victory, I think, is if Finney takes him down and Valentin's either able to tap him from the bottom or sweep and do work from top position. So almost the best outcome here is if Finney takes Valentin down without hurting him first. Like if Finney clocks Valentin and then hoists him, dumps him, and goes to work, like from side control where Valentin's already rocked, that's going to be bad news. But yeah, Valentin's best routes to victory here are either if Finney takes him down while they're both fresh, both dry, and just, you know, gets himself guillotined or triangled or something, or if Valentin is somehow able to kind of keep Finney on the outside and, you know, kind of pity pat him up at distance. It'll be interesting to see what happens in clinch situations here, because Finney, despite being an absolute tank of a man, like, the clinch is not his best spot, and Valentin has a pretty decent, like, kind of tall man clinch game. I do favor Finney in this one. I think he's too physical, too strong, hits too hard. He's 10-0 and hasn't faced a whole ton of adversity, you know, even in kind of his decision wins on the Contender Series. So I think even if Valentin, like, you know, catches him with some nice shots on the feet, I don't think Finney's going to fall apart here. I think he stays undefeated, passes his first test in the UFC, shows that the UFC was right to sign him finally out of the Contender Series. Give me Finney by decision. And yeah, I just love to see maybe some signs that he's going to be able to make his unique physicality and unique game work against UFC level middleweights going forward.
Yeah, the standout might be the most interesting part of this fight. Yeah, I don't know what it is, and I'm not really into this fight much. I don't really like either guy. Valentin, good.
Every single fight on this card, I have to think first. We had Giga Chikadze versus David Onama, and we lost it, and we still have this. So,
yeah, there you go. Yeah,
I mean, I would take that. I would take that over every other fight on this card, including the main event. I don't know if I go over it. Yeah, definitely with the main event. The main event's not that good. Yeah, it might be. Yeah, you might. Yeah, you might be right. I mean, not over Loma, but other than that, Valentin. I mean, the dude is so raw on the feet. He does these weird things. Although, like, you know, he doesn't box at all. He does like spinning attacks. He did hit a great elbow knockout on Tough. Big kicking game. His striking looks like John Jones' striking when John had like 3 pro fights. And just had like incredible reach and tried a bunch of wild stuff, but didn't even have like a jab and right cross.
Yeah, that's actually a really good way to describe it. That's really good, actually. He throws some front kicks. Defensively, he stands really tall. He backs straight up. All his strikes are to close the distance where he wants to get the fight to the ground. He wants to grapple, but his wrestling isn't very good. He's definitely like a scrambly. He's like a Rene de Ritter, but a way worse version.
What a call! Like, Not even the poor man's, but like the homeless man's Rainier Ritter. Like,
Yeah. He might be a better striker than Rene, but he wants to get the fight to the ground. He's a grappler. He's got good top game, but he struggles off his own back. He had moments. I can't remember the guy who beat him for the Ultimate Fighter Championship, but the moments he had in that fight was like the other guy's mistake. It wasn't him sweeping. Finney, he's only 26 years old, so I like that. You mentioned he's short and stocky. He's a great athlete. I mean, former NCAA football player, very raw on the feet. He does have good foot movement. I mean, he's pretty light on the feet. He has really big power. I mean, just look at the guy. The guy's freaking huge, muscle wise. He's a good wrestler. Nice entries. Good top control. The issue they've had is that he'll stall on top. I mean, it's the complaints on Tough is that he wasn't entertaining enough, that he could, in his career he's held guys down. I'd say his grappling is solid though, definitely like wrestling style where he's looking for like head and arm triangles and stuff. But he showed much improved ground and pound in his last fight, and that's what got him the stoppage. I think this is tough because I think both guys are one-dimensional. I mean, Valentin is so much bigger, but Finney has more power. He's just at the age where he can improve. Finney has a wrestling advantage, while Valentin, I feel like, he's like the better grappler. If the fight gets stopped in like the first round, it's probably Valentin catching a submission or something. But I'm going to go with you. I'm going to go with the age, the power, the athleticism, and just good old American wrestling. Give me Finney to get the takedowns, and I think he's going to play it safe in his UFC debut. He might stall on top a little bit. Give me Finney by decision.
We stay in the middleweight division as Brad Tavares faces off against Gerald Meerschaert. Tavares, the 37-year-old Hawaiian by way of Las Vegas, is 20-10 overall. He is 15-10 since joining the UFC out of season 11 of The Ultimate Fighter. He is on a 2-fight losing streak and has lost 4 of his last 5, but both of his cage appearances last year ended up with his opponent getting their hand raised. That would be a knockout loss against Gregory Rodriguez in February, and then a split decision loss to Jun Yong Park at UFC Fight Night Royval versus Tyra in October. So Tavares looking to snap that losing streak, looking to prove that at 37, he at least has something to offer as a kind of reliable card filler and gatekeeper, and he's facing someone looking to prove more or less the same thing in the form of Meerschaert. Meerschaert, also 37 years old. In fact, these two are only 3 days apart in age. Meerschaert is 3 days older. He is 37-18 overall. He is 12-10 in the UFC. He's coming in off a loss. He fought most recently in November at UFC Fight Night Magny versus Prates, where he got tapped out by Rainier de Ritter in the 3rd round. That snapped a 2-fight win streak for him. He'll look to start another here. He is not favored to get it done, as Tavares is minus 250, Meerschaert plus 180. I mean, we knew it was going to happen eventually. Brad Tavares was going to get old. It's difficult because he's kind of a baby-faced guy. And he's looked basically the same for the literally 15 years he's been in the UFC. He was the youngest guy in the Tough House at Tough 11. I'm not saying he's been in the UFC for a long time, but his first fight in the UFC, outside of like the Tough finale, was against Phil Baroni. And he settled in so quickly. Like, he never became a guy that, it looks like he's headed for a title contention run. It was never that. Just within 4 or 5 fights, he settled in as a reliable gatekeeper to the top 10 or 12, and he stayed that for like a full decade. If there was a hall of greatest long-term gatekeepers, he's got to be there. Like, you just, not a highlight reel machine, but just reliably fun guy who was well-rounded. So he was a good test for just about anybody, because if he was against a grappling phenom, he could take care of himself there and beat him up if he needed to. If he was going against a pure striker, he would flex some underused and underrated takedowns, and see what the guy had there. It does finally seem to be dropping off. I mean, this is his 4th losing streak in the UFC, or yeah, it's his 4th, but at this point, he's lost 4 of his last 5. He's lost 6 of his last 10, I think. he's still a big favorite over Meerschaert here, and I understand why, because the way that Tavares has slipped is his reflexes have slowed just a little bit, and his once extremely reliable durability has started to fade. In other words, the things that are slipping are the things that Gerald Meerschaert has never really been equipped to take advantage of. Meerschaert, in terms of athletic prowess versus in-cage achievements in the UFC, is one of the biggest overachievers, I think, in UFC history. He's up there. Probably every single person he's fought in his entire UFC run would beat him at a decathlon or like the NFL scouting combine or insert name of overall athleticism test here. And yet he's over 500. He finds ways to beat these people. And usually it's by outlasting them, getting them tired, getting them sloppy, waiting for him to make a mistake, and usually guillotining them. Or if the guillotine doesn't do it, he is capable of taking fighters down once they're a little tired and beat up, and he does have a very good ground game. Like, it's not just a guillotine. Like, as slowly as he is on the feet, he has fast and fluid back takes. He's quick in transition on the ground. But I don't think any of that comes into play against Tavares unless Tavares makes a huge mistake. And whatever else you may say about Brad Tavares, for a guy that's been in the UFC as long as he has, he's never really fit the Hawaiian just scrap stereotype. In fact, I mean, he's one of the first UFC fighters I can think of who really, really kind of bucked that stereotype. Like, he's always been kind of a medium power, like pretty well-schooled striker. He's never been a wild brawler. He's always been, willing to turn to his wrestling when it's been to his best advantage. Here, I imagine he's going to know it isn't. And so if he plays things smart, which again, he usually does, I think he probably just beats Meerschaert up pretty good for 2 rounds out of 3. If Meerschaert catches Tavares a few times on the feet and Tavares reacts as badly as he has when people like Gregory Rodriguez hit him, all bets are off. Maybe Meerschaert gets yet another club and guillotine, but I'm not betting on that. Give me Tavares to hold serve as a 2.5 to 1 favorite here with a pretty straightforward decision win.
So, sorry, I was building a fence today, and I was knocking in all the pickets, which takes forever, like to each individual picket and putting the spacers in. And I was sitting there and I'm thinking how much time I'm spending building this fence. And then I was sitting there thinking, and I still have to do some MMA study, and then I realized that Tavares and Meerschaert was on the card, and I was like,
and you put it on the fence post. You're like, okay.
like how much time of my life have I spent watching these guys fight? I'm not going to bother talking about these guys. Like, everyone knows what they got with these guys at this point. I mean, nothing has changed in their career other than their durability is both kind of faded. I mean, Tavares has always been better than Meerschaert. I don't trust either the durability, but he's still faster. He's not known for his power, but I think he's the harder hitter of the two. I say Meerschaert is not reacting to punches well. I say he gets rocked a bunch. Tavares hasn't had a TKO in like 7 years. I say he gets one more left in the UFC. I say he gets a TKO. I'll say it happens in the 3rd round. Give me Tavares by 3rd round TKO after a back and forth fight.
And just so you guys know, if you live in Keith's neighborhood, the next time Kevin Holland fights, Keith is looking for someone else to put up a fence in their yard, like with all the time he's going to save.
I'll freaking Dale out of that shit.
Yeah, like maybe we get Kevin Holland and Angel Hill on the same card. Keith can repave and tar like his street for everybody. Like just. Next up on the UFC Vegas 105 main card, and the only heavyweight fight on the night, unless Vanessa Demopoulos really, really screws things up, it is Kennedy Nzechukwu versus Martin Buday. Nzechukwu, the 32-year-old Nigerian American by way of Texas, is 14-5 overall. He's 8-5 since joining the UFC as a 2-time veteran of Dana White's Contender Series. He fought on the first season and won. Came back, won on season 2, knocking out Dennis Bryant in like 2 minutes. That got him signed. Since then, again, 8-5. Notably, 2-0 since moving up to heavyweight. He was a light heavyweight of obvious potential, but after losing back-to-back fights to Dustin Jacoby and Ovin St. Preux, he decided to test his luck up a weight class, and since then, he has knockout wins over Chris Barnett and Lucas Dresky, both of them in the last quarter of last year. He met Barnett in October at UFC 308. That was a weird fight. If you remember that, that's the one where Barnett, like a fucking idiot, like blew out his knee doing a backflip in the cage before they even fought. And it's kind of impressive that the fight even made it 4 minutes. And then he came back in December at UFC 310 and finished off Lucas Dresky in the first round as well. So this time, UFC matchmakers decided that Nzechukwu deserved an opponent with at least 2 working knees and a pulse, and they gave him Buday. 21-year-old from Wales, or no, wait a minute. That's Portia Baines, that we're still not absolutely sure isn't actually Martin Buday. Martin Buday, as listed, 33-year-old from Slovakia, 14-2 overall, 5-1 in the UFC since joining out of season 5 of Dana White's Contender Series, and he is 1 win removed from that 1 loss. He lost to Shamil Gaziev all the way back at UFC 296 in December of 2023. He came back last June at UFC 303 and took a split decision over Andrei Arlovsky. I mean, make of that what you will, but in other words, 2 fellas looking for a step up from their recent competition, looking to prove they do in fact have something serious to offer the heavyweight division. Nzechukwu, a comfortable favorite. He is minus 300. Buday plus 240 coming back. There have been some encouraging things about Kennedy Nzechukwu at heavyweight. One, to no surprise, he fills out a heavyweight frame just fine. But I do like that instead of just showing up with a pot belly, he still showed up looking pretty damn fit and weighing like 235 or 240. He's not like Marcos Rogerio de Lima, who just, when he went to heavyweight, just like showed up with like 30 pounds of gut. Like Nzechukwu looks like he's taking this move to the new division pretty seriously. But beyond that, it's impossible to tell where his ceiling is at heavyweight because neither Chris Barnett nor Lucas Dresky could really test the things that went wrong for him at light heavyweight. Like if you look at Nzechukwu at light heavyweight, he had better raw physical tools than just about everybody he fought, yet managed to basically go 500 at light heavyweight. And there were 2 ways he would lose. He would lose either by having just horrible defensive lapses on the feet where like a Dawoon Jung would just crush him with something, or he would just get lulled into doing nothing for like whole rounds at a time and just get dragged into a fight where, yeah, maybe he deserved to get the decision, but he left the round so devoid of offense that really nobody deserved to win the decision. Like the OSP fight. We don't know if that's going to be the case at heavyweight because neither Chris Barnett nor Lucas Dresky could pull that kind of fight out of him. Like, for one thing, neither of them got out of the first round. 2, neither of them really tried to do enough offensively to be able to tell whether Kennedy Nzechukwu's like defense is any better at heavyweight. I'm going to be honest, I don't get why he's a 3-1 favorite against Martin Buday. Because Buday, at least thus far, I mean, he hasn't lost any fights that he should win. Like his 5 wins at heavyweight are pretty much scraping the bottom of the barrel as well. Like he's also fought Barnett, also fought Dresky, then Josh Parisian, Jake Collier, the ghost of Andrei Arlovsky. But I know what Buday is going to do. And if it's enough to win, he's going to win. And if it's not enough to win, then he's not going to win. But even though Buday is probably going to outweigh Nzechukwu by like 30 or 40 pounds in the cage, He's probably not going to have the reach advantage. I know he's not going to have the hand or foot speed advantage, but Buday's going to come forward. He's going to crowd Nzechukwu. Kennedy Nzechukwu has never responded very well to that. And now, like, Kennedy is taking on people that, yeah, if they back him into the fence and get their hands on him, he really is going to have his hands full, dealing with a guy that just has that much weight and just bulk and sheer physical strength. I think Martin Buday wins an absolutely hideous fight here. There's the possibility that Buday catches Nzechukwu with just some vicious uppercut or elbow while he's mashing him on the cage, but I think that's the outside chance. But I do think this fight probably spends a lot of time near the cage. I could see Buday trying to drag Nzechukwu down from there, or I could see him just mashing him into the cage, kneeing, elbowing, punching him in close quarters until or unless the ref pulls him off. Give me Buday to win 2 rounds out of 3 in an absolutely miserable fight, and for Safe Saud to completely lose his voice by the middle of the 3rd round.
I think it's absolutely insane that the line is this big. I think it should be a pick'em fight. I like a lot of what you said about Nzechukwu moving up to heavyweight. I think he looks better at heavyweight than he does at light heavyweight. Again, now he's fought 2 terrible heavyweights, so it's, take it for what it's worth. But just his frame and his build and everything, the weight cut must have been a killer for a guy his size. So he's a good striker. He's faster at heavyweight than he was at light heavyweight. His best weapon being his jab. He likes to be the one leading the dance instead of being pushed back. He does fairly well in the pocket because he has nice power, and his power has moved up so far up to heavyweight. And when you just look at a guy, you just know when a move up to a weight class works well, and he's clearly that guy. Big kicking game, likes teep kicks. Like stepping knees. I like to move to heavyweight because he's just usually going to be more athletic and faster than those guys. I don't like his defense. He pillars a lot, and that's really dangerous against heavyweights. He doesn't move his head enough. He backs his head straight up with his chin high in the air, making it a big target. He can close the distance and use his size well in the clinch. Like I go back to Devin Clark, he beat him up with some dirty boxing in there, batted him with elbows. He can sneak in a takedown, but his wrestling is super inconsistent. I'm still not really sure if he's a good wrestler or the guys he took down a week. Good top game though. Like he's got some clubbering ground and pound. I always go back to like the Carl Robertson fight. I mean, he battered Robertson with some mean ground and pound. Not a submission threat at all. He's a bad defensive wrestler, but he can get back to his feet as I described before. He's like that Derek Lewis, just kind of use his size to get up. And he has fairly good cardio, and I expect him to be better at heavyweight because obviously they fight at a slower pace and not cutting weight. But he's a really poor athlete, but he just makes up for it with volume. He's on the gas. He's the guy pressuring his opponent back. He's kind of a slip ramp guy. He's attacking combinations. He doesn't get enough respect for his striking because he has no power for comparative for a heavyweight. A lot of arm punches. He definitely wants to be the one pressing the gas forward instead of being pressured back. That's why he struggled against Shamil Gassiev as he was getting pushed back. He also seemed to mentally break a little bit in that fight. He's very hittable because he keeps his chin high in the air. He also, like Kennedy, he's going to want to close the distance, as you mentioned, work in the clinch. He clinches a lot. He loves a slap and titties type match. He can do some dirty boxing. He can throw some knees inside. He'll sneak in a takedown. He did it against Josh Parisian, but it's like definitely not his go-to. He has 3 subs on his record, including that Kimura against Parisian. But again, I don't give him too much credit for that. But he's got good cardio for heavyweight, probably because he does lack that power. I think there's a hard fight to pick. I'm really on the fence. I can see Buday's pressure just mentally breaking Nzechukwu. But Nzechukwu definitely has the raw talent advantage. Because of that, I am taking Nzechukwu, but I have zero confidence in my pick. I'm going to say he's able to keep his distance a little bit with better footwork than most heavyweights that Buday has faced. I think he'll use his teep kicks. I see he does enough at distance. When they get inside, I don't think he'll struggle in the clinch as much as you think he will. I think he can land some knees inside. I think it's gonna be really close, but I'll say Nzechukwu wins a decision because I think it'll be a lot of clinching, but I don't think Buday's gonna do enough in the clinch to win those rounds. So give me Nzechukwu by decision.
Next up on the UFC Vegas 105 main card, another matchup where the UFC matchmakers are probably just going for the amusement value of the face-offs at the ceremonial weigh-in, as it is Cortavious Romious against Lee Chang-ho. Romious, the 31-year-old Missouriite, is 9-3 overall. He is 0-1 since joining the UFC as a two-time veteran of Dana White's Contender Series. He lost on Season 7, came back on Season 8, and took a unanimous decision over Michael Imperato. That got him signed to the UFC, where he debuted last November at UFC Fight Night Magny versus Prates, dropping a unanimous decision to Gaston Bolaños. He will look for his first UFC win against Lee. 30-year-old South Korean is 10-1 overall. He is 1-0 since joining the UFC out of Season 2 of Road to UFC, where he made his official UFC debut last June at UFC on ABC, Whitaker versus Alencar, taking a split decision over Xiao Long. So he's looking to go 2-0 in the UFC, looking to deny Romious his first UFC win. And Lee is moderately favored. He is minus 170, Romious plus 140. Keith, is Cortavious Romious going to end up being... you know what? Just give me your take on this fight. I'm not even going to ask any ridiculous questions about whether either of these guys is a future contender at bantamweight.
First of all,
wins on Saturday.
What a weird placement on the top on the card. Is this really the third fight from the top?
It sure is, and again,
weird. Really weird. A guy who lost his UFC debut and a guy who I thought should have lost his last fight in Lee. The Gladiator ripoff guy, Romious. He's obviously that's his real name, but are you not entertained and everything? He's southpaw. He's a pretty good striker. He's fast. He's explosive. I like his straight left. He draws good power because he really steps into his shots. He can get a little wild, but he has good volume in the feet. Though that volume kind of bit him in the ass against Bolaños as he gassed in that fight. He kicks hard, especially to the body. He'll go for takedowns, but I wouldn't call him a wrestler. But he can, he occasionally sneak a takedown in. If he's taken down himself, he's hard to hold down. He is a submission threat too. He has some real. I mean, he's like a little bit of a Ronda Rousey ripoff. He's like kind of go-to specialist. He's got some really fast arm bars. He was rushing those arm bars against Bolaños. He also plays BJJ off his back, so he lose portions of the fight because he was going for that. Lee's a southpaw. He wants to press the action on his opponent, get him on the back foot. Not much of a striker. His strike is really to set up his entries. He closes the distance, and he wants to use his size, work in the clinch. He's got a good plumb clinch. He wrestles a lot. He likes upper body takedowns. But his wrestling, I don't think is that good for a guy. Chang Ho Lee in English, that doesn't translate to Bo Nickel. He's got poor takedown defense if he's on the defense. He needs to improve his get up game. He gives up his back to get up, which is concerning. He'll lose position, Russian subs also himself. His ground and pound I like though if he controls and lands ground and pound. I'm torn on this one because I'm not very high on either guy. I think Romious probably has more avenues of victory due to being faster, being the bigger submission artist. I think Lee gives himself the best opportunity to win by closing the distance and wrestling. Like to me, it's like the obvious route for him. But I'm gonna go with Romious to get his first UFC win. I say Lee takes him down, and I think he's gonna get on board. I'm gonna say Romious does his thing. He gets his first round submission.
We have another unanimous upset pick here because I thought the same thing as you. Like I don't know if I scored the Lee versus Xiao fight last summer, but what I remember best from that is that for one thing, Xiao got a couple of very impressive takedowns, fought off some of Li's takedowns, and generally speaking, gave, I think, better than he got in terms of being the more physical guy. Like, they spent a lot of the fight shoving each other into the cage, and I thought Xiao gave at least as well as he got there. And now we're talking about somebody in Romious who is, I mean, he's not a great technical wrestler, as you mentioned, and doesn't help himself because he grapples like a grappler, but is absolutely going to be the physically stronger guy when they get their hands on each other. I don't know if Romious gets the sub. I could certainly see him getting it, but even if he doesn't, I think he wins the decision here. I think on the occasions the fight makes it to the ground, it's more often going to be either Romious getting taken down and putting Li in trouble immediately, or Romious ending up on top and going to work from there. Either of which, even if he doesn't finish the fight, probably wins him rounds. And for as long as things are on the feet, I think they're fairly even. But again, if it plays out anything like the Li versus Xiao fight, I think Romious probably at least holds his own there as well. So give me Romious by decision in a mild to moderate upset, and I guess we have 2 unanimous upset picks on this card. That brings us to the co-main event of UFC Vegas 105, a featherweight matchup between Pat Sabatini and Joanderson Brito. Sabatini, the 34-year-old Pennsylvanian, is 19-5 overall. He's 6-2 since joining the UFC as the outgoing CFFC featherweight champ. He's alternated wins and losses over his last 5 fights, dating back 3 full years at this point. He's coming in off a win. He fought just once last year. It was in October at UFC Fight Night Royval versus Tyra, where he tapped out Jonathan Pierce in the first round. So he will look to break the pattern of alternating wins and losses, get his first back-to-back wins in the UFC since April of 2022. And in order to do so, he will have to get past Brito. Brito, 30-year-old Brazilian, 17-4-1 overall, 5-2 since joining the UFC out of season 5 of Dana White's Contender Series. He dropped his UFC debut to Bill Algeo a little over 3 years ago, went on to win his next 5 fights in a row, culminating with a ruining of Jack Shore's featherweight experiment last May, and basically fighting his way into the fringes of contention in one of the toughest divisions to do so, before running into William Gomez last September and dropping a split decision. So Brito looking to get back in the win column, looking to start up a new streak, looking to prove that he is in fact going to be a factor in the title picture in this division going forward. And he is favored to do so rather comfortably. Brito is minus 210, Sabatini plus 170. Keith, I feel like both of these are pretty damn good fighters. And while I'm not surprised that Brito's the favorite, I was surprised that he was more than the 2-1 favorite. Tell me if I'm right or wrong, and tell me who you think gets it done on Saturday.
This is a fun fight, being that I think it's the right co-main event based on their projection of where their careers are right now. 17, he's a really good athlete. He has this like karate style on the feet. He's got this very wide base. I see his boxing is okay. Nothing really stands out. He's got underrated power. Because of his karate style, he'll toss out some spinning attacks and stuff, kind of keep you honest. He also has that big wide base, so he's open for calf kicks and leg kicks. He's a very good wrestler. He's got some quick entries. He gets to fight to the ground. He's got smother and top game, mean ground and pound. He controls really well. He is a submission threat. I mean, I always go back to like that Jamal Emmers fight where he heel hooks him, but he's got obviously a big submission game, and he does a lot of like BJJ tournaments and stuff. So like he doesn't like hide how much he wants to get the fight to the ground. You have to be worried about his chin though. When he loses, he tends to get knocked out bad and doesn't go well for him. Brito, I'll say this: I thought he won against William Gomez. I thought he won that fight. He's a well-rounded fighter. I like his volume on the feet. He's constantly on the gas, marching down his foe with pressure. He does need to learn to cut off the cage a little bit. When he let his hands go, he's super fast. He's explosive, works behind a good jab, follows some big blows, nice hooks. His last fight, he was a little predictable He kept throwing the same overhand right. That's something he needs to change up. I think he was really looking for like a highlight reel knockout. But when he connects, he has big power. He throws a lot of spinning shots himself, which I don't think would be a wise idea against Sabatini. That would give Sabatini the opportunity to kind of get to his legs. Big kicking game, hard calf kicks. I mean, he broke Jack Shaw's legs. Or leg with kicks where he split his leg right open. It was one of the
gruesome.
Yeah. Well, he's a solid wrestler himself. He likes to get takedowns more from the clinch. He's extremely strong. Look how he tossed around Lucas Almeida in that fight. He gets on top, great top game. He's a submission threat. He's got 8 subs on his record. Really, really fast guillotine. He caught Jonathan Pierce in a ninja choke. He has a great submission defense. He was able to get escape a bunch of times in his fight against Diego Lopez. Obviously, that's a fight that is aged really well. And he's got a good cardio. He can go hard all 15 minutes. As far as prediction goes, Sabatini needs to go for takedowns. And I think he needs to go for takedowns a lot, like takedown after takedown. And once he gets Jonas and Brito down, he needs to hold him down and look for the submission, or hold him down and get long periods of the fight where he's on top. I think he'll try this, and I think he'll have success early, but I think he's going to have a hard time holding Brito down. Brito is very scrambly. I think Brito gets to his feet, starts to open up some big shots on the feet, and I think one of those big shots is going to end Sabatini. I think he's going to put him to sleep. Give me Brito by second round TKO.
Yeah, I like Sabatini a lot, but you kind of threw out the problem there. We now know what it looks like when he loses, and it isn't pretty. Now getting clocked by Diego Lopez that's going to happen to a lot of people before it's all said and done. And yeah, the night that Damon Jackson beat him, it's like, if you're watching this, you may remember that's the night that Jackson's brother had died days before, and it was an emotional thing. And never underestimate the intangibles, that may just have been his, he was kind of a man of destiny that night, that kind of thing. It's his Buster Douglas night. And there are a ton of featherweights in the UFC, probably including some in the top 15, that I'd pick Sabatini to beat. But Brito is a tough ask. He's a hard hitter, and we know now that Sabatini has problems with that. And he's a tough guy to get down and hold down if he doesn't want to be there. That highlights some of Sabatini's vulnerabilities, and it closes off some of his best routes to victory. I like that you mentioned, Sabatini's stance and his surprisingly effective wrestling, because generally speaking, fighters that take that wide, bladed stance, well, for one thing, most of them aren't looking to wrestle. And the ones who set up that way and do need fights to go to the ground, it tends to be a struggle to get offensive wrestling going. We just saw, what's his name? Gunnar Nelson a couple weeks ago. Sabatini might be the most effective offensive wrestler in MMA history, allowing for the handicap of starting out of that stance. But I don't think it's going to make much difference against Brito. You said second round knockout, right? I don't see any reason to be different just to be different. I could see Sabatini getting something going in the first round, maybe having Brito in some trouble, or at least winning the first round without any question, because he had Brito reacting, defending himself on the ground, struggling to get back up for a lot of the round. But eventually Brito's aggression and power on the feet, I do think, are going to meet up with Sabatini's durability problems. And I think second round knockout sounds about right. And if he gets it, it's probably going to be pretty spectacular. Worth mentioning, and you mentioned you thought Brito beat Gomez. Dude, fighting one of France's most promising up and coming prospects at UFC Paris, I guess you get what you get. But if Brito had gotten the decision there, there's every possibility that he'd be in the headliner against Murphy or Emmett tonight instead of what we've got.
Yeah, that's true.
I mean, if Brito had even just gotten the split decision there and he had like 6 straight wins in the UFC, yeah,
sure.
It might be Emmett versus Brito. But yeah, Brito by second round knockout sounds right to me too. With that, we come to the main event of UFC on ESPN 65, a featherweight contenders matchup between Josh Emmett and Lerone Murphy. Emmett, the 40-year-old Californian, is 19-4 overall. He's 10-4 in the UFC. He's coming in off a win. He fought most recently a little over a year ago at UFC 296, where he knocked Bryce Mitchell out cold in a last-minute contender for knockout of the year of 2023. It was absolutely chilling. It also put a stop to the first and thus far only losing streak of his entire career. He's been off ever since. He's turned 40 in the meanwhile, but he is going to try to get a new win streak started up here against Murphy. 33-year-old Englishman is 15-0-1 overall. He is 7-0-1 in the UFC. Obviously, he's on an 8-fight unbeaten streak since joining the promotion, but he's on a 7-fight win streak. He fought to a split draw with Zabira Tukugov in his UFC debut a little over 5 years ago. Since then, he's perfect, with the only possible complaint being that he hasn't been very active, as he didn't fight at all in 2022. And again, has just 8 fights in 5.5 years. But he fought twice last year, winning unanimous decisions over Edson Barbosa in May in the headliner of UFC Fight Night 241, and then over Dan Ige at UFC 308 in October. So Murphy, every time out, certainly hopes that this is the one that's going to push him over the edge and into the serious title discussion. Certainly a win over a longtime contender like Emmett would go a long way towards that. And according to the bettors and odds makers, he's likely to get it done, as Murphy is a strong favorite at minus 325, Emmett coming back at plus 250. Keith, I am definitely going to flip this one to you first, because I have watched tape on this one. I've been thinking about this one. I've been writing on a piece of scratch paper and drawing arrows from here to there. But the main problem for me is that I don't know whether Emmett is washed and just crushing Bryce Mitchell, one of the more kind of one-dimensional and limited ranked fighters in the UFC right now, gave him a reprieve from us, realizing how shot he is, or if he actually is in pretty good competitive shape and just fighting Yair Rodriguez and Ilia Topuria back-to-back that would have been too much for all but about 2 featherweights on the planet, and Emmett wasn't one of them. I have no idea which it is, which is why I'm definitely giving this one to you first.
I have a pretty strong stand on that, and I'll get to that. I mean, Emmett's 40 years old, so even if he isn't washed, and he wasn't washed when he fought Bryce Mitchell, it doesn't change the fact that he could have got washed since. I mean, he's at that age; he can fall off at any time. Being a guy that he's taken tons of damage. Think about the beatdown he got from Topuria. You mentioned Yair Rodriguez. Even like wins he has, wins against Shane Burgos, Calvin Kattar. He got hurt in a lot of those fights. He's a short, stocky boxer who I used to call him a wrestler boxer, but the wrestling's not there anymore. No. He isn't very technical. His hands have slowed over the years. His footwork has always been bad. He's always struggled to kind of trap his opponents. He struggles to close the distance, get in the pocket where he needs to unload those big shots. He tends to load up on everything. When he shortened things up and he kind of flows, that's when he's dangerous. That's when he was doing to Calvin Kattar and stuff. He's got a good straight right. He's got huge power, but I used to say that his power was overrated. Now I look really dumb after what he did to Bryce Mitchell. I mean, it was one of the scariest knockouts we've ever seen. But on the flip side, I wonder if that's going to bite him in the ass, because he was a guy that was already constantly looking to try to end the fight with every single punch. And when you have a moment like that where it's just one of the most epic knockouts.
Kind of like Poirier hitting one guillotine, guaranteed that he's going to try 5 guillotine fights for the rest of his career.
Trying. Yeah. It's like the youth wrestler hits a headlock, so he keeps doing it over and over again.
Hey,
not
that's
realizing.
me.
Yeah, and not realizing it. You set yourself up to lose in the future. So the top guys are super athletic. Guys like Poirier, guys like Rodriguez, they just easily dodge away of his shots because he's constantly loading up, trying to end it with one big shot. He is best when he sets up his power shots by going to the body. If he can go to the body, trap his opponents, hit the body, then start going high for the big shots, he'll do a lot better. He also, I've said this before, but he kind of forgets to reload his shots. He'll kind of throw a big shot and he's open to counter because he's kind of admiring his work. His lead leg is a huge target because he's heavy on it, and obviously he's had. I mean, he tore his ACL in the fight, so it's a big, or MCL, something in his knee. He got a serious injury, so I can see people attacking his legs. He has that wrestling background, but I mean it's even pointless to mention it because he never wrestles anymore. You've heard me say countless times ranting about guys not being able to wrestle later in their careers. They'll mention, oh, he's a NCAA Division I wrestler. It's like, yeah, well, like Ben used to be a Boy Scout. Like, who cares? Like, it's not relevant anymore. His takedown defense, I think, is overrated. I mean, Poirier took him down. Ige took him down. You move to Lerone Murphy. I mean, I didn't mention Dan Ige. Lerone Murphy looked fantastic against Dan Ige. He's a good athlete, good footwork. He flows between stances so well. He's a controlled pressure striker. And he's a technical striker. He's got nice output on the feet. He uses shoulder rolls to avoid shots, which I think is very dangerous against a power puncher like Josh Emmett. He also pillars, which again is not my favorite defense, especially for going against a big a guy that can really land. But when he's letting his hands go, he's got a nice crisp jab. He likes to double it up. Everything goes off that jab. He's accurate with his follow-up shots. I like that he holds back his power and just touches when there's openings. That kind of conserves energy, but also changes up the speeds of your attack and stuff. He works the body really well. He's extremely intelligent. Like his feint punch to like a step in knee is one of the most beautiful things I've seen someone do when he knocked out Americani in their fight. I'm going to keep that in notes for a while because that was so super impressive. He's a great kicker. He blasts the body with some, especially when he's in like the opposite stance. He'll switch back and forth. If he's in like, against Emmett, if he's southpaw, he could be looking for body kicks, hard calf kicks. He's a good wrestler. He'll shoot in, good top control. I would go back to like Ricardo Ramos. He battered him and knocked him out with ground and pound. I still think he needs to improve his takedown defense. He pillars a little bit, which leaves him open for those takedowns. But he showed against Gabriel Santos like a good get-up game, harder to hold down than he has in the past. Not a submission threat at all. But he showed good cardio in his last fight. Obviously, this is 25 minutes, be a little tougher, but I mean, no, his last fight was 25 minutes too, but right? Was it last fight?
No, it was 2 fights ago.
2 fights ago.
Barbosa fight was a headliner, so that was 5.
Oh, Barbosa, yeah, that was
fight was a 3. Yeah,
yeah, Barbosa, he looked really good in that fight too. So I don't think Emmett is completely shot, but I don't think he's like back to being a top 7 or 8 guy in the division. I think it's somewhere in between. I think this is a terrible. I don't know what you said the line was, but I mean, I actually checked the lines. And I forgot, and I never do that, but I'll tell you why. I checked the lines later. I really only see Emmett having a chance to land a haymaker. Sure, it's a good chance due to that power, but I think he's going to be swinging for the air a lot, and I think Murphy's just going to be moving, jabbing him, kicking him. I think Lerone Murphy might sneak in a takedown or two himself. Emmett is insanely tough. I think that no one will ever challenge like how tough a human being that guy is. I think that might be a bad thing for him. I think they're just going to prolong the damage he's going to take and prolong the inevitable. I think he gets smoked. I last week on Monday, I did the with my man Clint. I did the Die Hard MMA podcast. I told him how we that's strictly a betting podcast, but he was telling me about like plus 2.5, like in the scorecards and stuff like that. And I don't know if you know how that works, but he was explaining it to me. I will do this for the listeners just because my man Clint. I'm going to say if you can get a plus like Murphy 2.5, so that means like the scorecards he has to be over, or no, then it'd be negative 2.5.
Yeah, so he has to win 49, 46, or 50, 45.
Yeah,
or
four or five rounds to nothing.
Yeah.
3.5 might be a little much. You have him clean sweep. That's a little gutsy. But four rounds to one, give me that all day. But that's not what I'm doing. And the reason why I said I'm checking the betting lines, I want to take Murphy as my bet the house, but then I was like, oh, this guy's a huge favorite. That's shitty. So I'm doing a parlay. I'm gonna bet my house. I'm gonna parlay. I'm giving the last two fights. I'm going Murphy. I'm parlaying them with Joe Anderson Brito. I'm betting the house on that parlay. 100 pays $92 or whatever your 1 unit pays 0.92. I'm doing that. This is my lock. Give me the main event, co-main event winners is bet the house on that one.
And folks, that is a house with a new fence. So
nice new picket fence.
Yeah. Yeah. The thing, like, again, I'm not sure where Emmett is competitively. Like, I don't think he's as good as he looked against Mitchell. I don't think he's as dead as he looked against Topuria. Oh, I mean, he might be now because that was almost 2 years ago.
Yeah, and Topuria makes anybody look dead.
Yeah, but you went to the heart of it. This is a terrible stylistic matchup for him because the things he still does well just don't match up well with Murphy's game. And like you mentioned, like really Emmett's best chance to win in a 5-round fight in particular is to catch Murphy with a huge shot. And if he hadn't just done that to Bryce Mitchell, like, I mean, before the Mitchell knockout, yeah, part of the scouting report was the UFC booth is going to tell you that Emmett has crushing power, and he kind of does, but he hasn't landed it on anybody in like 5 or 6 years. Like, if anything, the Mitchell knockout may have made this line a little closer than it otherwise would be. Well, hell, this matchup wouldn't be happening if he hadn't beaten Mitchell, but you know what I mean? Like, it's thrown back in everyone's mind. Oh, yeah, the guy that looks like he's trying to find the halflings really can just crush somebody with an overhand right. My question is kind of the same as yours. Is Emmett's insane toughness enough to get him to the final horn? And I'm with you. I think he probably does, even if that's not like necessarily a happy outcome. And I think it's partly down to Emmett's toughness, and it's partly down to Murphy being a naturally composed and I don't want to say conservative. Like, you know, when he wins, there's no question like who won the fight. But if Emmett's flagging in rounds 4 and 5, Murphy's gonna do a very controlled step on the gas and just make sure that he leaves no doubt. I can't imagine him like, you know, selling out to get the finish. Yeah, give me Murphy in a dominant decision, and if you want to take that parlay that Keith threw out there, I fully co-sign on that. If you want to do the decision, giving away points, this could totally be a fight where Emmett toughs himself into like a 10-8 round, like where Murphy doesn't get the finish but just knocks Emmett bloody all over the cage for 5 full minutes, and it's a 10-8 round. So your chances of getting that at, you know, minus 2.5 rounds might be better even than you think. But yeah, Murphy in this one big time, and I'll say by decision. And that is it. The Sherdog Radio Network preview for UFC on ESPN 65, Emmett versus Murphy, also known as UFC Vegas 105. I've been Ben. He's been Keith. If this is your first time watching or listening to one of our previews, first of all, thank you. We hope you enjoyed it. This one was pretty lean, mean, and businesslike, but normally there's a little bit more story time, a little bit more back and forth. But yeah, we do our best to bring you a mix of actual in-depth analysis and occasional humorous or historic asides. that we think we do as well as anybody in this industry. So please do give us a like, subscribe. Neither of those cost you a thing. They make our bosses happy. They allow us to keep bringing you this content free of charge. And drop us a comment. Keith and I both man the comment section. We would love to hear your take on these fights. We had a couple of unanimous upset picks, and we had a couple of disagreements. So weigh in on those. Let us know if you think we left any obvious money on the table. And if you're right and we were wrong, we will give you your flowers on the recap. You just need to come and collect them. We are live on the Sherdog YouTube page right after the main event. Keith takes the captain's chair. We'll talk about all 13 of these fights in reverse order, from the headliner all the way down to that strawweight opener, talking about what was good, what was bad, what was surprising, what was controversial. There's always something. Talking about what's next for some of the notable winners as well as losers, and talking with you. The live chat is open that whole time, so we are taking your questions, your comments, and your hot takes in real time. We have a growing community of friends that hang out with us after the fights, and we would love for you to be part of it. Between now and then, thank you once again for listening. Enjoy the rest of your week, and by all means, enjoy these fights. That's gonna, dude.